Yes, this is the layout for the Model 3 optical fibers networking. In this model, as it is visible, mainly dealing with the three important components. The first one related with the optical sources. This is, you can think, the main reason for the development of this particular different domain, optical communication networks. Because of the development of such kind of coherent sources has led to the uh, formation of an bed or emphasis for this optical communication. So here we are going to look into some of the basic aspects of the optical sources like light emitting diodes and other different light source materials and laser diodes and their mathematical discussion we can go into this. The related basic aspects like energy bands, direct and indirect band gaps. So those things will focus first. So by understanding that, it will become easier for us to understand the structure and operational details of the LEDs and laser diodes. And we will go in detail about their what are the existence of the different modes, what are modes which are available in each of these optical sources. Mainly two optical sources we are focusing here, LEDs and laser diodes. Quantitative discussion is important and some based on numericals will be there. As usual, numericals are straightforward. Only thing you need to understand the given data and how to understand which formula you have to apply and use the calculator properly with correct and proper end units. After that, we'll go to the study of photodetectors and optical receivers. Both are concerned with the optical receivers. Photodetectors are normally used to detect the phonons or photons at the receiver side to reconstruct back our intensity modulated or the message signal. We studied some different cat along with the quantitative discussion. An optical receiver with some error sources concept, we are going to put a light on that, not going much in detail about optical receiver. So just a brief things we can see here in module 3 regarding optical sources, detectors and detectors as a part of the receiver. Optical sources are actually concerned with the transmitter part of the optical communication system. So nearly 50% of module 3, 50 or 60% deals with that. And remaining 50 or 40% deals with the receiver related things like detectors and some overview of the optical receiver. So let's start our journey in this module 3, which is quite simple and most of the things are known to us. So this one is the energy bands picture. We hope all know that at the atomic level, if you look at any conductor, it is made up of three bands here: valence band, conduction band, and in between them we'll have the band gap, having some energy gap energy. So this band gap, will be different for different kinds of materials like conductors, insulators, and semiconductors. Right now, we are dealing with the semiconductor materials that are coated with a question mark like silicon or germanium, etc. So semiconductor, which falls in between its conductivity falls in between that of the insulator and the conductor. Similarly, likewise, in the same light, the band gap is very small in case of conductors and is very large in case of insulator. So it will take more energy. Uh, very high energy is required for any electrons residing in the valence band to jump there from to the conduction band. Like that's why it is called insulator. So very low conductivity. Whereas in conductor, the band gap is very less, very small amount of energy sufficient for the electron to make a jump from valence to conduction band. In between these two, the band gap, if it is there, it is known as a say semiconductor material, like silicon or germanium. We know these things already. If you look at this left-hand figure, that will indicate the pure crystal at the lowest temperatures. It is indicating pure crystal. We are talking about the ideal states. Pure crystal, pure silicon or pure germanium means it is not yet doped by any impurity atoms like pentavalent or trivalent like that in order to affect its conductivity or to uh, vary its band gap or energy gap or to disturb the behavior of the electrons residing in valence band or maybe in the conduction band. So this is all about the pure crystal, but at the lowest temperatures. So one thing we all know that the electrons will not move from one to another place unless they are able to move if they have the sufficient energy. If some electrons, if they have the energy, they will move. They constitute for the some amount of current, little current. You can distinguish, no, that one you are going to call it as by the name of minority current, carrier current, and majority carrier currents. Whichever may be either electrons or holes which may contribute for this. So whichever some of them are there, if they have the energy, they will move from here to there or there to here like that. They will constitute for the some current. We call it as a minority carrier current. But what's about the rest, remaining people, maybe electrons or holes? Remember, we are dealing with a pure crystal, not N type or a P type here. Okay. N type, P type we can form by doping pure crystal with some pentavalent or trivalent impurity doping materials. That we'll see next slide. So what is happening at the lowest temperature? That is our main intention to show these diagrams. Right side it will indicate when temperature increases. We'll go it later after some time. But right now, what is happening at the lowest temperatures? So at the lowest temperatures, okay, the temperature is there, but it is low. With this available temperature, whichever the number of electrons are there, or holes are there, electrons are there, if they are getting some energy by this at the lowest temperature, they are making some movements. That is called ionization. Ionization is very low. You can say the arrow has been indicated here, showing electron is moving, leaving hole behind the valence band. So whenever the electron is leaving from one place, so that place will become vacant and creating the hole means nothing is there. So that nothing will denoted by positive ion and the where the electron is going to occupy the new place that is indicated by a charge that is negative charge, negative sign, negative ion. So ions we are going to call them now because the moment is not much is happening. That is called ionization. If, if slowly this movement only will go on increasing as the temperature increases because only some people with the available lowest temperature they are making the movements. What's about the others? They need extra energy. So that energy from where it is coming by rising the temperature. Okay, that is one source with respect to that now what we are discussing. There are otherwise like different other sources are there from which you are able to get the temperature. Sorry, the energy we are giving to the electrons. So energy has been using here, utilizing in order to make the movement for your electrons. Why? To cross the band gap from valence to conduction band. So this crossing in more numbers, that is di by dt, sorry, dq by dt, or whatever you can call by the definition, q equal to di by dt, rate of change of, so more number of electrons, rate of change of electrons, rate of change of movement, or rate of more density of electrons if they are doing this movement with respect to the time, that is going to constitute the current. We want more density to do this crossing. If we want more number of electrons to cross this, we rest of the electrons we have to give some energy, so that they, if they'll get the energy, they will cross, they will jump it. So this energy we are getting from the temperature, or maybe by applying the electric field. That is a different aspect. So at lowest temperature, with the available temperature, some electrons are changing their positions from valence to conduction band and residing with a negative charge in the conduction band, and leaving behind the positive charge or the holes in the valence band. Like that, a set of negative charge carriers and positive charge carriers will be forming in both conduction and valence bands respectively, with the separation of the band gap. So this is how it is formed. This is formed by the transition of the available electrons which are having the energy already with the available lowest temperatures. And this accumulation of charges, negative charges in the conduction band and positive charges or ions in the valence band, better to call them ions, because now nobody is static charges. Accumulation of static charges are now no more moving. So accumulation of static charges with opposite polarity separated by the gap will create the electric field. Some electric field will be created. That is very small in magnitude. There is also a direct result of the energy gap or a band gap. A relation is there. So how we can relate these things? Electric field and the band gap. More electric field. Now how much electric field will be having? So the thing is that what the question now before us is, if what we can say, uh, the I doubt what we are getting, the question before us is, what is the relationship between this the amount or the value of the electric field and the band gap? How we can reduce the band gap? Band gap is reduced, then electric field will increase or decrease. How? Can anyone freely share? Would like to share the things here? A quite interesting discussion is there. So pure crystal at lowest temperatures. Now before us, with respect to the left-hand diagram, we reached at the one concluding stage where we are observing that with the lowest available temperatures at the pure crystal, maybe silicon or germanium or whatever, will be having their own predefined band gap. We got the electron transition in the initial stage, and we got up with the accumulation of static charges or ions with the negative and positive polarity in the conduction and valence band respectively, separated by some uh, particular band gap, leading to some electric field value. This will occur after some stage. Pure crystal at lowest temperature, or if you want, you can take it as a room temperature. Now the question is, further, if I will go on increase or decrease the temperature, if you decrease the temperature, you are uh, calling back. You are making less electrons to cross. If you are increasing the temperature, you are giving more energy to the electrons, you are making more electrons to jump, constituting more uh, current, you can say, more charge flow, or the current Q equal to di by dt, constituting more current or the charge uh, rate of change of I with respect to T, and what you can say more electric field. With a more electric field, more charge jumping, what you can think of the band gap, energy gap, whether it is going to reduce or what. That's how it is. If you are getting this one, the band gap is what it is doing. If you go on increasing the temperature, that the band gap is increasing or decreasing, that is going to decide and how it is going to be related with the increasing or decreasing electric field. Because more electrons are jumping and crossing means the electric field is going to vary, it is going to increase directly proportional with the density of the charges which are crossing. So if the electric field is increasing with the increase in or increase in density of the carriers which are crossing the band gap, then what's about the band gap? Whether it is decreasing or increasing? Can anyone tell me? This is the key point here. You can think over it. I think nobody is interested to discuss. So next we'll go with when to the right hand side picture when temperature rises. So when the temperature rises, you can see we have plotted two graphs here adjacent to each other. One for the electron energy and another one for the hole energy. Electron energy is indicated by the EC with respect to the x-axis, and the EV. So EC it will indicate the electrons which jumped, made up to conduction band. That is the density of electrons or energy of electrons which are now jumped into the conduction band. And EV it will indicate the number of electrons which are still available in the valence band, the concentration. The respective density or concentration or distribution is indicated by roughly by in terms of the Planck's constant and the temperature as a function of Planck's constant K. Sorry, Planck's, not Planck's. That is H. Kb, it is a Boltzmann constant. Kb, B it will be Boltzmann constant, and T is the temperature. So made it the concentration of the electrons in both valence and conduction to depend on the temperature. So it is directly proportional. If the temperature increases, so this peak, what you are getting here, what you are observing, this peak is go on rising with the rising temperature. The temperature decreases, this curve will become flat, less concentration of electrons. The gap energy is indicated by the difference between EC minus EV, obviously, because EC is more than EV. Because we need more energy to jump to conduction band, that is EC, than the valence that is EV. So the EC minus EV will give the gap energy. So when the temperature increases, what this graph it is indicating, some of the available electrons along with this still more number of electrons in the valence band will be getting with energy with this increased temperature and making themselves into the conduction band, raising the peak a little bit compared to those in the valence band, and with the energy gap given by EC minus EV. So this is what is happening with the little rise in the temperature. So this is all about the energy bands what you are observing. So during electron propagation, it reacts with the neighboring atoms and hence experiences some force, external force, Fext. So we know that the force is, for example, what is happening here is that, so if one electron is there in the valence band and with the available lowest temperature or maybe with the rise in temperature, it's a neighboring electron which was not jumped at the lowest temperature. Now it is getting energy with the rise in temperature. So what is happening with that electron when the moment it will get the energy from this rise in temperature? Okay. So this is a very fundamental question that takes us back to the past, our high school days. Will make us to recall how the matter is going to change from solid to liquid, liquid to gaseous state, like that. If you heat the ice cube, solid skeletal structure start melting, give the liquid for some time. If you continue heating, it will be vaporized. That is a gas state. Solid, liquid, and gas. How the things are happening here. Molecular structures are changing. How they are changing here. We all studied the bombardment, the law of bombardment of molecules. So whenever, because if you see the at the atomic level, the molecules are very much systematically arranged in the solid state, data structure, with no any space. Perfect bonding is there, crystalline bonding. So the moment when the electrons in the valence band will get the energy, they got free with this extra energy. So before they got free, they start bombarding, they start vibrating. Okay, it's something like if you are standing in the cube, somebody will push you from the back. You won't suddenly fall. That energy will go from one to another person, then you will fall after some time. The same thing is happening here. That force, we are writing external force in terms of the external mass, exterior mass, or you can say the mass of the mass electron and acceleration faced by the electron by its neighboring crystalline structure. So this is going to impose some external force on the electron to make it to vibrate and make it to become free. If it vibrates more, it loses contact with its adjacent locations and it will become free. So with this, we'll quote here the intrinsic carrier concentration Ni, that is indicated by for the perfect material, that is a pure crystal without any impurities. What I am telling. 1 minute. Yeah. So intrinsic carrier concentration Ni, maybe it is for N or a P, it will be given by K to the power of minus Eg by 2 kBt. Sorry for the disturbance. So intrinsic carrier concentration, why we are defining, because that is going to constitute your actual density of the current, pure current, how much you are getting. That is given by the K e to the power of minus Eg, that is a band gap energy, e to the power of minus Eg, that is band gap energy, divided by in terms of the Boltzmann constant and the temperature. That's what roughly we indicated it by 2 kBt in the last graph. So here K is the proportionality constant that is given with this equation 2 pi kb Boltzmann constant T divided by square to the power of 3 by 2 into Me and Mh. Me it will indicate the effective electron mass, Mh it will indicate the effective hole mass to the power of 3 by 4. So for you purpose, knowledge purpose, because many times I have seen for such kind of numericals for 2 or 3 marks, very simple problems. Provided if you know this formula, you can substitute the things and get back those fetch the marks. So in this context, I want to give you the hint that in the last model how I given, you need to remember that in the last model the refractive indices of some of the materials. So here also I would like to insist you to remember. So here he has given, but every time it will not be given like the effective mass of the electron. You should remember it is a 6.19 10 to the power minus 32 kg, and the whole it will be 5.1 10 to the power minus 31 kg. This much you should remember. And electron mass you will be knowing 9.11 10 to the power minus 31 kg. And remember, one constant he has not given even this problem, that is a Boltzmann constant. So some of these constant like Planck's constant and Boltzmann constant you like to remember. Normally they will not be given as a part of the numerical. So with these values, if I substitute here, so K value you need to calculate here in advance. and substitute all the things, we'll get finally 2.62. The concentration as a 2.62 to 10 to the power of 6 cubic centimeter per cubic centimeter. Sorry. So by understanding this all about the energy bands, how the key point here, guys, you have to remember what you are taking out from the discussion of this energy band concept, the relationship between the electric field and the band gap, how they are related. So you can think over it and give an answer to that in the quiz. So the relationship between the electric field, how it is formed, and how it will be got related with the varying band gap, energy band gap, or band gap. So after this, we're discussing all about the energy gap with respect to the pure crystal. We'll make it impure now. We'll try to alter its conductivity because we want the conductivity as per our sum of the requirements. Like doping with the pentavalent impurities. In pentavalent is it will contain the five electrons, one extra. It will giving you. It is going to donate. That's what is known as a donors. It will give rise to extrinsic material like or N material. So it will donate one extra electron. The impurities are like arsenic, antimony, phosphorus, like that. Many things are coming. You can see here. So the valence band is here with the EV level, energy level. That is EV, it will indicate what? The concentration of electrons in the valence band. That has been shown in the right hand figure. The whole concentration is this much. So before doping, you are here. It is like this. EV is here and AC is here and band gap is this much. Both the peaks are almost equal. Both the peaks are almost equal. Right now, you just imagine. Okay, how it will increase, we'll see it later. EV is here and EC, that is a concentration of electrons in the conduction band is here. And you can see the donor level is going to add up here in the band gap energy, ED. So with the addition of these pentavalent impurities, will make more electrons to jump from EV to EC, creating more valence, sorry, the holes in the EV, and reducing the E's, electrons in the EV. That's how you can see the peak has been reduced. The concentration of uh, that is a whole concentration distribution because it is giving you the electron, not holes. It is donating more electrons rather than holes. Means holes will be there. ಹೋಲ್ಸ್ ಮೊದಲು 10 ಇರ್ತಾವ ಬಟ್ ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಾನ್ ಮೊದಲು 10 ಅಂದ್ರೆ 20 ಆಗ್ತಾವ. ಹೋಲ್ಸ್ will be remaining same but before 20 now 10 will become less. That's what is indicating the whole concentration is distribution is decreased, or in other words electron concentration is increasing with the addition of the doping pentavalent impurities. That is going to enhance the electron concentration distribution in the conduction band by this much peak. You can see if we add the trivalent, it will increase the whole concentration. ಮೊದಲು 10 ಹೋಲ್ಸ್ ಇರ್ತಾವೆ, 10 ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ ಜೊತೆ. ಈಗ ಹೋಲ್ಸ್ ಹೆಚ್ಚಿಗೆ ಆದವು ಅಂದ್ರೆ 10 ಇದ್ದಿದ್ದು ಹೋಲ್ಸ್ 20 ಆಗ್ತಾವೆ ಬಟ್ ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಾನ್ 10 ಇರ್ತಾವೆ. Means comparison is now difference now got increased. That's all. So whole concentration distribution is increased. Okay, that is going to increase this peak in the valence band with acceptor level here because the holes contribute less to the conduction than to the electrons. So trivalent ions will contribute less to the conduction than to the pentavalents for the conduction. So this all about the basic things we already know. If you add pentavalent, you will get N type. If you add the trivalent, sorry, it is an intrinsic, that is a P type. Now coming to this one, the main topic, direct band gap and indirect band gap. So far we discussed about that to understand these things, direct band gap and indirect band gaps. So what we mean by this? Electron transitions. So here Conduction band is shown by some roughly like this, and valence band is shown by like this. Conduction band is having negative ions, and here the positive ions static. Now the electron transitions occurs to the conduction band and from the conduction band to the conduction band with the absorption, from the conduction band with the emission of photon, respectively. The statement is very important, guys. Electron is moving from valence to conduction band if it will absorb some energy, get that energy and jump that. That's what is called the absorption. So here the energy what we are getting it not from the temperature, that what we have taken as a reference of uh, source of energy for the electrons to move so far in the previous slides. Now instead of temperature we are taking the source of energy for electrons is the photons. Okay. Now for all the further slides the temperature is not the source, the photons are, or the light is going to be the main source. Understanding this one, this key point here. For the discussion of basic energy band gaps, temperature is the main source of energy for electrons to move. And for the discussion of direct band gaps or indirect band gaps, actually they are related to energy band gaps only, but with some different concepts. Source here is a photon. That's all. So if you apply the light or photons, from the photons the energy is taken or used by the electrons in the valence band. They will vibrate and become loose, and they will jump. They will vibrate means they will absorb that energy by absorption. And if you want the electrons to move from conduction to valence band, we want them, see, they are moving from valence to conduction band by absorbing the energy. We have to give energy to it. But when you want electron to make it to jump from conduction to valence band, no energy is required. Simply you make a fall, make a jump with some liberation of energy. That is a radiation. That is a photon. ಕೆಳಗಿಂದ valence to conduction band ಹೋಗೋ ಮುಂದೆ photon ಲಿಂತ energy ತಗೊಂಡು jump ಆಗ್ತೈತಿ. Conduction band ಗೆ ಹೋಗಿ ಮುಟ್ತೈತಿ. Conduction to valence band ಬರಬೇಕಂದ್ರೆ whatever the photon ಲಿಂತ energy ತಗೊಂಡಿರ್ತೈತಿ, that will be liberated in the form of photon energy. That is a radiation actually. That is actually called phonon, having some momentum hv. That is given by hv. That has been shown here with this arrow mark, cross arrow mark, hv equal to e direction. So it all depends on the momentum of the electron, with what energy or the velocity it is making the transition to and from between these two. Both the energy and momentum must be conserved. That's what he is telling. One should be used in another for energy should be conserved. Electron holes should have the same momentum. Direct band gap material, they have the same momentum. That is a direct band gap. In direct band gap, both have the same momentum. Indirect, it will be different. In the indirect band gap materials, the conduction band have the minimum energy levels to occur at different values of momentum, and valence band will experience maximum energy levels to occur at the different values of momentum. So this quite variation is there. Now you can see the another difference what we are observing. The photon energy is liberated with less energy levels in the conduction band. Means they will be liberating the photons, then they are jumping back to the valence band. So the momentum equation you can see the radiation or the liberation. I am talking with respect to the electrons. Now they're jumping from conduction to valence band. Remember, guys, the direct band gaps and indirect band gaps, of course, they're related with the transition of electrons from 1 minute. Sorry. from valence to conduction and conduction to valence both. But mainly they are we are focusing the as far as their aspects are concerned, concept are concerned, they're mainly concerned with what is exactly happening when they're jumping from the conduction to valence band. In direct band gap, the momentum of the electrons which are happening when they are jumping from valence to conduction or conduction to valence are same. But it's not the case. It is not the same in the case of indirect band gaps. That is one important observation. If you want, I can note it down. You cannot get even in the notes or in the textbooks. This is the one important observation. Okay. The moments are same in case of direct band gap and it is not same in case of indirect band gaps. And this will become the reason for the next second point. What is second point? Second point, we have observed that with respect to the falling of electrons, so I can tell from the conduction to valence band, they will liberate the photon or phonons and liberate the energy with the momentum hv equal to e direction. That's all. Directed energy, direct energy, you can say, directed band gap energy. But here in this indirect band gap, because of the difference in the moments, the momentum will be different, which will be responsible for the uh, release of photons or photon radiation in the right hand side and the left hand side, as it is visible in the case of this figure. On the uh, for my right hand side, it will be adding, and for my left hand side, it will be reducing. More photon radiation is happening for my right hand side compared to for with respect to my left hand side with respect to this figure. So this is happening because of the difference in the movements. That's why it is known as indirect band gap. Okay. So the movements are you can see the more energy levels are there in the conduction sorry, more energy levels are there in the valence compared to the conduction band, and how they are related, the energy levels are related with the moment. Okay. So these two are important observations that will actually, you can say, really differentiate between the direct band gap and indirect band gap. That is one of the question I'm going to ask in your quizzes. First important observation, what actually differentiate the direct and indirect band gaps is the variation or moments are same in case of direct band gap. Why? Why? Because of this, the kind of a material they are using. With respect to some materials they are talking. Direct band gap materials and direct band gap. It depends on the characteristic features of the materials. Moments are same. The moment with which the charges are moving in both valence and conduction modes are same. And with respect to indirect band gap materials, based on their nature, it will be different. They will achieve different kinds of movements with respect to their charges. They are moving in valence and conduction bands. Second point, this will lead to the different uh, kinds of radiations. So in direct band gap, the radiation is straightforward, directed one, and there is no any difference in the movement. And whereas in indirect band gap, there is just difference in their movements. On one side they will add, and on the other side they will subtract, leading to increased or decreased radiation in one or the other direction, like that. Okay, so this all about the direct and indirect band gaps that I actually wanted to cover today. Stop now.